Showers tomorrow morning may be prolonged at times, but it'll brighten up in the afternoon, becoming mainly dry by evening, feeling cooled with highest temperatures of 10 to 11 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters.
This is News Talk.
Well, a very good evening to you. It is very early on in Stephen Kenny's tenure to have a defining match. Earlier than he would like, you suspect. But these are exceptional circumstances and the prize is great. 2 matches to reach the Euros. The first is tonight in Bratislava. There is live commentary coming your way here on Off the Ball with Nathan Murphy and Stewie Byrne. The text number is 53106. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. It's Joe Molloy with you this evening on what is a huge night for Irish football. Richie McCormack is here for the news round as well, but we will start with the main event. Nathan Murphy is alongside Stewie Byrne. We've got team news for starters, Nathan.
Yeah, and big news as well, a big surprise. James McClean is back in the Republic of Ireland starting team. Aaron Connolly named among the substitutes. Callum Robinson also in. It looks as though Stephen Kenny is going to stick with that 4-3-3 formation that he went with for those opening 2 matches against Bulgaria and Finland. There is the possibility he could go with a 4-2-3-1, but I think there will be a surprise when a lot of people see the return of James McClean. This has been touted and is very much a new era, but those younger players, the likes of Connolly, Malumbi and Ida, they all are among the substitutes tonight. Aaron Connolly did sit out training earlier in the week, but there's been no suggestion of an injury. So right now I think we have to assume that that is a tactical decision. But here, if you're looking for a big man for the big occasion away from home, Ireland's best away results in recent years came as a result of James McClean goals in both Wales and in Austria, and he gets his chance tonight. So the Ireland team, we expect to be Darren Randolph in goal, the back 4 of Matt Doherty, John Egan, the captain Shane Duffy and Enda Stevens. If it's a midfield 3, it'll be James McCarthy, Jeff Hendrick and Conor Hourihan, with Callum Robinson on the right, James McClean on the left and David McGoldrick leading the line. There is the possibility, Joe, that he could go with 2 in the middle and go with McCarthy and Hourihan in the middle, play Hendrick on the right, McClean on the left, and David McGoldrick is the number 10 in behind Callum Robinson. If he felt, as a lot of people have speculated, he needs somebody alongside James McCarthy, both defensively to shore things up, but also to try and get the best out of McCarthy. But it was a surprise to everybody, there's no question about that, to see McClean in the starting 11. I think everyone expected them to get a run at some stage during this match with potentially 5 substitutes, but having been such a mainstay under Martin O'Neill and Mick McCarthy, there was a feeling he would be one of the main victims of Stephen Kenny's arrival. But they know each other a long time from back when McClean was starting out in Derry City, and he obviously feels he can trust him on this massive occasion, the biggest game of Stephen Kenny's career.
Thoughts on McClean, Stewie?
Yeah, surprised, Joe, I have to say. Primarily because it seemed that from the Bulgaria game, Finland game, he wasn't involved at all, having been such a stalwart, always involved in previous games, albeit maybe not a starter towards the latter stages of the previous manager. But when you think about it, he's been playing at Stoke. I don't know whether there's an issue with Connolly. There may well be, or Stephen could be looking at the fact here. Maybe is it better to utilise Connolly as an impact sub? I'm looking at the Petr Pekaric, the right full for Slovakia, is 33 years of age. I don't know whether the thoughts in Stephen's mind is to get McClean at him, get him tired, get him working, and then maybe bring in a fresh Aaron Connolly with 20 minutes to go. We've seen in. Especially in the Bulgaria game away from home, I thought Connolly was excellent, and he effectively created 3 chances for himself. So he's a hell of a player to bring in off the bench, especially when he's fresh and he's going at a tired fullback. So that could be the thoughts there.
Nathan, it's hard to keep track of the Slovakian preparation. There's COVID tests here, there and everywhere. How have they pitched up?
Well, they're obviously without Skriniar and Lobotka, which is a huge blow for them, ruled out in the last 24, 48 hours because of COVID. It's a very experienced midfield, which is maybe the area they look to target, with Juraj Kuka, Marek Hamšík, their captain, and Patrick Horovsky playing in the middle of that midfield 3. So that's the area where they've got a lot of caps in there and more experience even than this Ireland midfield. But you look at their goalkeeper, Marek Rodek, who played for Fulham on the opening weekend of the Premier League season against Arsenal, conceded 3 that day, hasn't played for Fulham since. This is just his second international appearance. So they're missing Martin Dubravka, the Newcastle keeper, who's out with a long-term injury, who would be the number 1 Slovakian keeper for a long, long time at this stage. So that's a big blow, and somebody maybe that Ireland can go and try and target in the the early stages of this game. These are two sides that are generally very, very well matched. They've played 5 times down the years. There have been 4 draws and a 1-0 victory for Ireland back in 2007. Slovakia are the sort of team that we dismiss too easily, that we think we should be better than, and we are better than, yet the results don't suggest that. And they find themselves in the exact same position. Our results, when you look historically, I think are quite similar. The odd brilliant victory thrown in, but generally a lot of draws away from home, trying to keep it tight. They do like to get on the ball. We heard Vinnie Perth on OTB AM this morning, having watched some of their recent games, even away in Israel, getting up on 60-65% possession. So that will be an interesting dynamic, because we obviously saw Ireland and Bulgaria as well get more possession than they've had in recent years, as to which of these teams wants the ball and which of these teams wants to come on the break. I do wonder, missing those big players, if Slovakia will look at tonight and say, let Ireland have a little bit of the ball and let them push men forward, because we saw that was the weakness in those 2 matches, that if Ireland were caught with men inside the opposition half, if they lost possession, if the attack broke down, as it did quite a few times, they've committed too many men forward, they can't get back quickly enough. Maybe that isn't as big an issue with players back to full fitness. The Slovakia team, then, I'll run through it. It's expected to be a 4-3-3 from Slovakia as well. So Rodek, I said, the Fulham goalkeeper in goals. The back 4, Pekarik at right back, very experienced player, Valro, Valiant and Mazan, but Skriniar, the big loss, the Inter Milan centre half, Kuka, Horovsky and Hamsik in the middle of midfield, and then Ruznak, Duda and Mihalik is the front 3. Hamsik, who would be their most famous player over the last decade or so, having had a long successful career in Europe. He's playing in China now, so there seemed to be a bit of confusion even in Slovakia over the last week as to what sort of state he was going to be returning in for this game.
Stewie, I mean, there's no doubt Ireland, based on the first 2 games under Kenny, had to tighten up defensively. There has to be a pragmatism about tonight. We are not a high-scoring team. We won't score 4 if you score 3, so we can't afford cheap goals or cheap moments like that. And maybe McLean has a roll-your-sleeves-up quality, and also he's got a counter-attacking threat in him as well. I'm curious for your thoughts on McGoldrick. So Stephen Kenny was talking yesterday and said we are dependent on him. In the last campaign, if he didn't play, Ireland lost, actually. So we don't really have another player who can knit the play together further up the pitch. Wes could, McGoldrick can. The ideal tonight is him coming deep, getting on some ball, and you have McLean and Robinson running off him. He has the quality to play passes which hurt. And better still, if Doherty and Stevens can join in, you feel McGoldrick can find them. And the intent to pass was there against Bulgaria and Finland. Maybe the cutting edge wasn't there. So I'd be really hopeful tonight. If McGoldrick has a big game, he can provide a moment or quality or 2.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the way that 4-3-3 system is set up, it's very much dependent on the ability of that top central player, the number 9, to come from a high position and drop in deep. And what that obviously does is that drags centre forward or centre halves in, which creates spaces in behind for the likes of James McLean and Robinson to capitalise on. I think when you look back at especially the Bulgaria game, you could see that he was trying to get Adamaida to do that, and I think he did that to a certain degree. Maybe not, he's a young player and needs to develop more, so it wasn't really natural to him. So what I felt in the Bulgaria game especially was there didn't seem to be that kind of continuity between himself and the central midfield player who will be making those passes, whether it was a McCarthy or a Hendrick, and that trust wasn't there. That may be there tonight now with McGoldrick coming in, being the experienced player and being probably one of our informed players. You can see that maybe the McCarthy, Conor Hurahan, they'll be looking for McGoldrick to come in deep. They're familiar with him being there, dropping into certain areas, and they'll look to feed to him. And I would expect
only 30 minutes ago, but it now would appear that Aaron Connolly and Adam Ida are not part of the squad this evening. Dan McDonnell has just tweeted, it appears the Ireland squad have been hit with their own COVID drama late in the day. So that is just breaking news. Connolly and Ida not part of the squad this evening, not on the bench this evening, just revealed by Stephen Kenny. Dan McDonnell has just tweeted.
Yeah, the FAI have just issued a statement, actually, Joe.
Okay.
The FAI have issued a statement saying they confirmed that a second member of the senior team backroom staff has tested positive for coronavirus. The FAI employee had tested negative in Dublin on Tuesday morning, but a positive result came from a test in Bratislava on Wednesday. He's asymptomatic and is feeling well. COVID-19 protocols have been executed and both UEFA and the HSC have been informed. UEFA have confirmed that the game is not affected by the development. The Ireland squad and staff will be tested as per protocols in Dublin on Friday. But as you say, it does seem as though both Aaron Connolly and Adam Ida were deemed to be close contacts of that backroom staff and have therefore had to pull out of the squad quite late. It seems as though Aaron Connolly was set to start in the match and what would have been in the starting 11 at the inclusion of James McClean was a very late call. So we've obviously spent quite a bit of time already talking about the impact of COVID on Slovakia and how Ireland have been very fortunate. But it seems right at the very end that unfortunately another FAI employee has tested positive for COVID. And as a result of that, 2 of the players are now going to miss out on the game.
Wow. What a blow that is to proceedings. So as you said, yeah, they're both deemed close contacts to that second backroom member who was tested positive. Stewie Byrne, to say the least, not ideal.
Not ideal at all. No, I mean, look, you know, it's this stuff just keeps coming at you, and I think we're getting to the stage where, you know, nothing can surprise you. Although I have to say, the timing of that announcement is surprising. There was no real. Didn't seem to me, unless he was injured, to be an obvious reason as to admit him. But now we clearly know why he's been admitted. I'm not too sure of himself, and if Aaron Connolly and Adam Ida are roommates, and you know, you can see how something like this can happen. Like, people are probably wondering, you know, from the outside in looking, you know, how can this happen, or how can only 2 players be omitted and the rest be okay? It could be something simple as maybe a masseuse having it, and the lads maybe would have had a rub down at a particular time, and just to be on the safe side, they might have made him. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. Look, we'll probably obviously find out more details tomorrow. But the fact that we don't have that option now of Connolly or Ida from the bench, I have to say, would certainly lessens our ability to get goals, to create goals. I thought having that option of Connolly coming off the bench would have been certainly something in our army that we could utilise, but not the case. So it certainly changes things. Hopefully it didn't happen in a way that the players were a little bit sort of put off by it. But yeah, the hits just keep coming, don't they?
When they talk about backroom staff as well, they're not talking about management staff. I'm watching the team warm up here at the moment, and Stephen Kenny is there, Keith Andrews is there, Damien Duff. They're all out on the pitch, but there's obviously a big travelling backroom team that are there as well. And unfortunately, listen, there's no blame attached, as we know at this stage. People can just be very unlucky. And the bubble that they come into is just the bubble when they arrive in last Monday. But all of these players and all the staff, and you're probably talking a group of probably up on 40, 45, 50 people all coming together in the hotel over the last few days. So when you look at what's happening around Europe and, well, in Ireland even over the last week, we can't be overly shocked at this development.
No. Final word for the time being, Nathan. I mean, this is all a bit surreal in terms of build-up. It's surreal that the stakes are so high in Stephen Kenny's 3rd game.
It is, and it's an opportunity is how he has looked at this from the start. I know we questioned whether he'd want to be thrown in at the deep end, and everything I've heard since is that he knows that if you can go and win here, well, what a flying start he makes to his reign. If they lose, it's a setback, but then you get on with the job of rebuilding over the next year to 18 months. But he's had such a little amount of time with these players on the training pitch. He's had all the time in the world to plan. He's had very little time to actually prepare with the players, to get the message across, to have them on the ground. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a more traditional Irish performance tonight, a bit of a blood and guts and get the result by whatever means possible. But this news breaking now unquestionably hampers them, because looking at footage of training even last night and over the last couple of days, he did seem to spend a lot of time with David McGoldrick and Aaron Connolly and trying to get across to them maybe what he wanted. So you'd imagine he had big plans for Aaron Connolly. But listen, James McClean will come in. He'll provide energy at the very least. He'll provide experience. He's got as many goals, James McClean, as the other 10 players in the team combined. So he's done it on the big occasion before, and they have that experience as backup. But I think as Stewie said, when we're looking at the bench, we're thinking there's some exciting options there. That's obviously now been depleted. Yeah.
Nathan, Stewie, we'll let you go take a break before kick-off. Nathan Murphy, Stewie Byrne, live commentary here on Off the Ball of the game. If you're just tuning in, Darren Randolph starts, Matt Doherty, Shane Duffy, John Egan, Enda Stevens is the back four we expected. James McCarthy, Conor Heron, Jeff Hendrick along the lines of thinking as well in midfield. The surprising news was that James McClean was in instead of Aaron Connolly, Callum Robinson on the right and David McGoldrick through the middle. And if you've really just tuned in the last few minutes, we are digesting the news that Aaron Connolly and Adam Ida not involved this evening at all. They are deemed close contacts of a member of the backroom staff who was tested positive for COVID. So Connolly is out, Ida is out, and the game most certainly goes ahead. Richie McCormack is along with me to run you through the news round. Richie, I don't suspect you're going to beat the drama of the last 10 minutes.
I don't think we can. But, on the 5-year anniversary of Shane Long's goal against Germany at the Aviva Stadium, what a way it could be for him to mark that anniversary coming off the bench and doing similar tonight. We shall see. The winners of tonight's game in Bratislava, we know, will be away to the winner of the semi-final that takes place in Sarajevo. Bosnia-Herzegovina take on Northern Ireland for the right to face either Ireland or Slovakia. Bosnia are another team that have been beset by COVID cases, but Northern Ireland boss Ian Barraclough says that hasn't entered their thinking.
We've just focused on ourselves. There's been a one or two changes from their squad from last month. We've got an idea what they might go and play. But I think if we concentrate on ourselves, that's the biggest important thing for me and the players. And they know the roles, they know what's expected of them. We know how we're going to go and attack the game. And look, if Bosnia throw a curveball, then we're also ready for that.
Yeah, both games kick off at 7:45. Scotland go into their semi-final at home to Israel without Kieran Tierney, Ryan Christie and Stuart Armstrong. Armstrong tested positive for COVID-19, while Tierney and Christie were close contacts of him, and all of those games kicking off at 7:45 tonight. Big news on the rugby front, of course, today, Joe. Ireland head coach Andy Farrell, including 6 uncapped players in the squad for the final 2 Six Nations games against Italy and France. There's no place for the injured Tyke Furlong in the 35-man panel, while Ulster scrum half John Cooney is one of the unlucky ones as well. Ryan Baird, Ed Byrne, Will Connors, Shane Daly, Hugo Keenan and Jameson Gibson Park have all been called up for the first time. James Lowe is not in that 35-man squad, but he will train with this panel ahead of him becoming eligible next month. Ireland face Italy at the Aviva on the 24th of this month before a Halloween date with France in Paris.
Yeah, it's a hell of a turnaround for John Cooney, who was going to start against Italy and now suddenly is not in the squad. We'll talk about that again on the rugby front over the next few days. It's very much football for this evening. Live commentary of Slovakia against Ireland coming your way. We're in the midst of our news round, which is with thanks to Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters. The COVID theme continues.
Yeah, Fermanagh manager Ryan McMenamin has called on the GEA to postpone the county's National Football League game with Clare. The sides are due to meet in 10 days' time, but the Fermanagh panel, as you mentioned last night, has been rocked by a number of COVID-19 cases. The GEA activity in the county has ground to a halt, and McMenamin has told OTB AM that they'll be at a disadvantage if that game in Ennis does go ahead.
We'll try to be the best that we can be for Down, but look, we'll give it a go. But my more concern maybe at the minute is we won't be we won't be able to play Clare, and we probably Clare need to know when that game is going to be, and we need confirmation from Croke Park.
So sorry, just to be clear, you think that the right thing to do at the moment is to cancel the Clare game or postpone it, or what do you think is the right thing there?
To me, I probably think it's a postponement. If they want to go ahead, and if they're more or less just going the league on without it, it'll be the integrity of the league gone. I would just probably like them to make a call on it ASAP, so look, we can ease the players' mind, because look, you do have a lot of players, and I'm sure there's with this COVID, there's a lot of blame game, and you kind of have to feel sorry for the players that maybe have contracted it. They didn't go out to intentionally contract it, and now you've a lot of young men probably going, I know I've got a few WhatsApps for them and from government, and they're kind of going, they're asking questions, was it because of me or whatever, or did this done? Like, you do have to think of their mental health, and this being paraded all around the country, and to me, I think the GA's just got to act quick on it and postpone it now, and then so we can draw a line under it, and we can tell the boys, look, this is now where we plan for here now, because at the minute it's doing no one no good.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and you suspect we're going to have lots of these dilemmas coming up over the next couple of months. And even with the news out of the Republic of Ireland camp tonight, high stakes and all as the game is, primarily you wish the 2 members of the backroom staff all the very best. You're hoping Connolly and Ida, for obvious reasons, don't have the virus as well. So we're going to be having a lot of these conversations ahead of games. Should they go ahead? Should they not go ahead? The game this evening most certainly does.
Yeah, on the league front there, I'm just reading that the GA intend to, there's the GA chairperson's meeting going on this evening, but they do intend to crack on with the league, and that any team who's not in a position, they say, to fulfill a fixture will have to forfeit the game. So that appears to be the only avenue left open to Ryan McMenamin and Fermanagh, should they not be in a position, he feels anyway, to field a side against Clare in 10 days' time. Forfeiture is going to become a big word on the GA calendar over the course of the next 3 months.
Yeah. Neil Fenn?
Yeah, he says he's devastated by his leaving of Cork City. He's vacated the manager's job with the Leafsiders, bottom of the SSE Electricity Power Division table. They have 5 games left of their season, and Colin Healy will take charge of City for Friday's meeting with Bohemians. It's just the latest chapter in a pretty turbulent recent few weeks for the 2017 double winners, who could be sold, it seems, for €1 to Preston's owners. Later this month, the Forest Board has approved that takeover and we put to their members, their 600 members, on October 28th. They could go for as little as €1, Joe.
Wow, that's a mess to say the least. Final story we should mention, Munster due to play the weekend. We do think that game is going ahead. I know there were tests yesterday, Rich.
There were tests yesterday and there are more still to come. They're yet to return to training at their high performance centre as they await the results of those tests of the latest round of PCR examinations. Earlier this week, one senior player and 6 others were close contacts. One tested positive. Munster say they still expect to meet for their captain's run tomorrow ahead of Saturday's Pro 14 visit of Edinburgh to Thomond Park. Captain Peter O'Mahony has been cleared to play in that game. That's despite a red card away to the Scarlets last week. A judiciary panel found that his sending off was punishment enough for his 2 yellow cards.
Right, okay. And actually, very finally, we should just mention, we had Gary Murphy on Golf Weekly this afternoon, and he played 9 holes, just a friendly 9 holes with Shane Lowry on Monday just gone, and he said Shane's game was spectacularly impressive. So he's done very well today, day 1 at Wentworth.
Yeah, especially on that back nine. Shane Lowry's just a shot off the lead with the opening day at Wentworth, winding down. 5 birdies on his back nine. Saw the Offaly golfer a card of 5 under par round of 67 today. Padraig Harrington and Graham McDowell are level par and 1 over par respectively after rounds of 72 and 73. Terrell Hatton, Adri Arnaus and Justin Harding are the joint clubhouse leaders on 6 under par.
Okay. Richie McCormack, as ever, thanks so much, Rich.
Godspeed.
And before we sign off and get over to events at Bratislava, I should let you know the big names keep on coming as part of our Cadbury FC series of remote road shows. So we had Gary Neville and Teddy Sheringham most recently. We have paired up Packy Bonner and Shay Given. We had Sol Campbell together with Ian Wright. Next up, Glenn Hoddle and Harry Redknapp. So Glenn Hoddle and Harry Redknapp coming your way very soon. You can keep an eye on our social channels over the coming days for details. And it's all thanks to Cadbury FC. You can check out cadburyfc.com for updates on promotions and giveaways. It is a huge night for Irish football, a defining night in many ways for Stephen Kenny early on in his tenure. We have live commentary, and it's next.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters.
There are plenty of reasons to get an official Volkswagen service, from the expertise of a Volkswagen master technician to the confidence and